Hi. Hello, everybody. How you guys doing? I hope that you're well. Right, gratitude. As you know, this is the first part I do on all my life. What are you grateful for? And what am I grateful for? I'm grateful for life. I'm also grateful for opportunity. I'm grateful for my family. It is so very important that every day we demonstrate gratitude. The more you demonstrate gratitude, the more you get things to be grateful for. I'm not saying be grateful for what you don't have, being grateful for what is right in front of you. And one of the major things you should always be grateful for, I'm saying should, I'm making an assumption that's what you got to be grateful for, is life. Especially if you are seeing it as it enables you to thrive, it enables you to do what you want to do. So therefore we have to be grateful for life, because without life you're nothing, right? If you haven't got life, you're dead, right? So basically the looking in terms of gratitude is grateful for life, because a lot of people have not made it and you have. So that's a big thing for me to be grateful for. And I'm always grateful for my bed, because it gives me a fantastic night's sleep. And in the morning, I'm getting up refreshed. I cannot even recall ever getting up and feeling that, you know, I'm not happy for getting up. I get excitement in terms of getting up for what I have to do in the daytime, because there's so many things I have to do and I'm never able to accomplish all of them. But at the same time, I'm really grateful for the opportunity and the experience to do the things I now currently do. And I love what I do. So in terms of gratitude, I am so grateful for where I'm at. It wasn't always like this, but where I'm at right now, I'm really grateful. Plus the fact that I've got the opportunity to empower young people. Oh my goodness, that is fantastic. I am not saying that it is without challenge. There are a lot of challenges, but at the same time, in terms of feeling grateful for being able to do that, I am eternally grateful for that. Right. Another thing is, I do feel that you need to always ask yourself, what is your big why? So it's your mission, what drives you, what drives you. So every day you should be getting up and ask yourself, okay, what is going to be driving me today? What is driving me today? What am I thriving for? What's my mission for today? And some people would say it's your goal. I see it as my big why. I see it as my mission. So that's something we need to ask ourselves. And those are the things that drives you. Your mission is normally your motivator. So it motivates you to do. Your big why is also your motivator, because it motivates you to do. Because you are looking for what is your big why. You are looking for what drives you. You are looking for what your mission is. Some people say it's your goal. Okay, well, if you want to say it's your goal, that's fine. But there are things that motivates you to go for what you want to go, whether or not it is in your private life, whether or not it's in your professional life, wherever it is. For me, especially when I get up in the morning, I ask myself, how can I really make a difference in the young people's life, a greater difference than I did the day before yesterday? So every day I'm asking myself, how could I make a greater difference? Because it's very important that I'm able to do that. And I always have my mission. I look at it as my big why, because as I said, I feel those are the things that motivates me to get up in the morning, to go for what I want to go for. And in the end of the day, it's like feeling satisfied that I have achieved my mission. Achievement is not necessarily full completion. It could be just being on the journey to that. That is a mission for me. And that is something I think, okay, yes, I have not fully accomplished it, but at the same time, I am on the journey to do that. Right. Education is fantastic. It's also challenging. And I do feel that as educators, there's sometimes we need to call things out. So if something is not, if we feel something is not right, and if we feel that it is not what we connect with, and we feel that it's not what we connect with, we feel that is not right, we need to call it out. Right, yesterday, was it yesterday today? Yesterday, I think it was yesterday. Something happened in my class yesterday. One of the things I say to all my students when I enter a classroom, it doesn't matter which school I'm at. One of the first things I say to students is, you need to start accepting individual differences. There are things we need to look at in terms of gender bias, culture bias, and individual differences. We need to appreciate those things, and we need to meet individual, especially students, where they're at. And I feel that it is extremely important that certain things we address, and we do not allow it to just go on unchallenged. So yesterday there was something that happened in my class. As I said, one of the things I say to students in all schools I go to, one of my first lessons, when I tell them the power of the mind, I say to them that you need to appreciate individual differences. You need to appreciate individual in terms of gender differences and also culture differences. We need to appreciate that and accept people for who they are, where they are, etc., etc. Anyway, yesterday, as I said, something happened in my class. We were looking at, it was in one of my sociology lessons, and we were looking at the NHS and providing services and the cost of services, etc., etc. And I said something to my student in terms of, the word I used was ambulance. And one of my students felt it was necessary for him to correct my pronunciation. I had to call him out because that was, I found it out of order. And I thought, there's a lot of things I thought of it. Because I then say to him something, I then went on to say that, I say, one of the interesting things is, I've said to all of you, it doesn't matter how a student pronounce something, because we need to appreciate that we are living in a multicultural society and everybody would pronounce things very differently due to their accent. So it is disrespectful, it is rude, it is unacceptable to correct an individual when they say something due to an accent. So I pull up the student on that. He was very upset. Well, he demonstrated he was upset and he just left my class. I then went on to say that the student have two teachers, because I share, because it's, there are four groups. There are four groups, four different groups, but the groups are quite large, so there are two sets in each group or something like that. So I share my teaching with another teacher, a French teacher. So one of the things I said to the student, I then, had to elaborate, because you do not correct the French teacher. She has a strong accent. Or she has an accent, full stop. She is not corrected. So how dare you feel the need to correct me? So those are things, as educators, we need to make sure we call out. Because I just feel that is something, it's a no-no for me. I do not accept that. I do not accept it for me, and I do not accept it for any other student. Those are things I do not accept. Because this could be, I'm an adult, so in terms of affecting my self-esteem or my self-confidence, it doesn't do that. But it can do for younger children. When another child feels the need to correct them on the basis of their pronunciation, that could be devastating for students. It could mean in terms of that student's self-esteem could totally disappear. That student confidence could totally disappear. So we need to be very, very careful as educators when a student when a student attempt to correct another student on the basis of their pronunciation, which is linked to their accent, we need to make sure that is a no-no. Because for the reasons I've just given, it could destroy a student. So I felt the need yesterday to deal with that there and then. And that's a situation where I do not treat lightly whether or not it's me or another student, because I know the danger and I know the damage it could cause to individual student in terms, as I said, the confidence, the self-esteem, the self-worth. It's a whole lot of stuff. So those are things that as educators and as parents, we need to be very mindful about, because those could be quite damaging. You know, another thing I don't accept is, let's say if a student is pronouncing something or a student is reading, etc., and whether or not that student is reading according to the expectation of anyone else, that is your expectation, right? Whether or not it's the expectation of the teacher or the expectation of the other student. If a student is reading, allow them to read. It doesn't matter how it sounds. It doesn't matter, you know, how the words come out. It doesn't matter. And if I ever see any student giggling, sniggering, etc., they're out of my class, and I follow that with detention. I take that very, very seriously, because that could actually make or break a student, and I've seen it too many times. So, you know, for me, yesterday I had to pull up the student on that, because I was not accepting it, because it's a situation where if it is left unchallenged, it can then escalate, not only to me, it could then escalate with other students. And he said, no. There's sometimes we need to look at the foundation of some of those behavior patterns. And we know, yes, it could be societal, but we also know environmental factor plays a major part. And we also know that individual upbringing also plays a major part. When I went back, I was talking to one of my colleagues about it. And then she said, you know, hell, what? Yes, and you know, and then, you know, we actually had a discussion on that. And there's sometimes, as I say, it's not just the child, it's deeper than that. And those are things we as especially as educators, we need to be aware of. And as parents, we also need to be aware of that as well. Anyway, I thought I will, you know, drop that in. And in terms of my mission today and my win today is one of the groups, I think it was year 13. I think it's year 13, I can't remember. The fact that yes, after the exam they were not as engaged, but now they're beginning to be really involved in the topic, because we're looking at globalization, which is a real big topic, and connecting it with the so-called Third World War that's happening, and how, you know, other countries in terms of state crime, and what are we looking at right now? Are we seeing any state crime happening, etc.? So, you know, that's my win today. My students were actually connecting what they were learning in sociology to real life scenario, which is quite nice. Because one of the things, the way I feel students actually enjoy subjects a lot more is when they can actually connect it to what's happening in real life. So they actually look at the theories, and then connect it to how they're seeing that particular concept fitting into real life. And that's what they were doing. So that was my real win today. The class was so noisy, you know, but it was really vibrant because they had a lot to say, and discussion was really brilliant. So that's my win today in terms of how engaged my students have been and how engaged they are becoming, and how they're actually making the connection with the book concept with real life situation that's happening there. So the subject is coming alive and they actually could see how it plays out in society. So that for me is very, very important in terms of making concept connection with real life connection. So that's my win. And that was my, that was my thing today. There's another thing I'm going to talk to you guys about tomorrow regarding parents going into schools and supporting the children and not allowing whatever school your children go to, not allowing the SLT, which is senior leadership team, or principal, to feel that you don't know what you're talking about. Ever so often, probably once a month, I'm going into schools or writing letters or online Zoom call with schools from either someone is in my group and they need support with schools, etc. So at least once or twice a month, I'm involved in supporting parents within the education system. And it's a big thing, especially for our Black children, because, the system doesn't do them justice. And I'm afraid the educators are actually so connected with the system, they can't even take a step back. No, let me rephrase that. Some educators, and sometimes their biasness is so unconscious, they're not even consciously aware of it. And that is an area as well. We need to actually pull them up on that, because maybe in my naiveness, I never realized it was so entrenched. It is really entrenched, and it's actually, it's bigger than we think. So these are some of the things we need to be consciously aware of as to what is going on within the schools, and how as we as educators would actually pull up our colleagues when they are actually becoming unconsciously biased, whether or not it's on a race area, whether or not it's on a gender, whether or not it's culture, etc., etc. And some of the terminology that I use, we need to be very be aware of when those when those words and terminology are used, when it is becoming unconsciously biased. We need to actually start connecting with that. So tomorrow I'm going to be talking to you about one of this the situation I had regarding a parent and going to a particular school, in terms of how the school actually handled the situation, or how they didn't handle the situation. And this is constantly happening in terms of managers, school managers, principals, how their unconscious bias can really affect a child. And it's not, some people might say, oh well, it's not as prominent as it used to be. I don't know. I think it's just as, because I've been in education for about 30 years, roughly, probably about 30 years. And the question I'm being asked when I started education, I'm still being asked those questions. It's like, have you got a degree? Are you qualified? All this kind of rubbish. I'm still being asked those foolishness. And the times I answer, other times I find it so offensive. I'm thinking, I'm saying in my head quickly, how am I going to answer that? Am I going to address it, or am I going to let it go? And the sad thing about it is that sometimes those are asking you those questions are students. So it is quite sad, where students are still asking you these questions. Are you, have you got a degree? Are you qualified, etc.? As I said to them last week, I said, question like that doesn't deserve an answer. You decide. Anyway, take care, people. Stay blessed. And I will see you all tomorrow, where I'll be talking about, the role of the school with parents in forming a partnership, and how important I do feel that role of school educators and parents, I find is very, very important in terms of forming a partnership for the good of the student, because I see it all the time. That's why I say to students that it's important that I made connection with your parents, because they need to know who I am, and I need to know who they are. They need to know who is, who is teaching their children. I think it's very, very important, because I also think it's important that we form a partnership. So that's what I'm going to be speaking to you guys tomorrow, in terms of how some schools decide that, oh, probably unconsciously, not forming a partner. Instead, they're taking a situation that should have been dealt with within to outside the external body, and then think that they're going to still have a relationship with parents. I don't know how. Anyway, so that's what I'm going to be speaking to you guys about tomorrow, because more and more and more these things are coming up. Anyway, take care, stay blessed, have a great evening. I'll speak to you guys tomorrow. Bye bye. Thanks for watching.